Love this podcast? Support it and sponsor today. Simply head to ozcastnetwork.com for details.
It's lights out and away we go.
Alberto's got away beautifully at the start of the great race.
Who's that got off?
It's Leclerc.
Charles Leclerc.
Welcome to Negative Camber, the Motorsports Show, brought to you by ProKarts Race Centre.
Far enough back, he's going to make the lunge down the inside.
The ultimate pit stop,
The safety car is coming in
fueling your passion for motorsport.
with an emotional moment that means everything.
All of the latest results, analysis, and interviews.
Roar the drivers on to the final lap of this race.
I'm Jamie Lemura, motorsport enthusiast, historian, and media presenter.
And I'm Leigh Harrison, motorsport professional, Sprint Master Karts race driver, and Formula One alumni.
Welcome back to Negative Camber, the Motorsports Show. We now cross over to Formula One.
Just before we go to Formula One, I did get another message from some people today, just to clarify some things. So, to everyone out there that wants to have a bit of a cry or complain at the state of karting in South Australia or Australia, just a quick reminder that there is club and committee meetings held quite often on a monthly basis where all members of the karting community can have their voices heard. So rather than bash out some letters on a keyboard and press send on a Facebook post or Facebook message or anything like that and blame clubs or blame this or blame that, maybe get off your backside, go down to the committee meetings, go down to the club, pitch in, help, and get to work and help build the sport of karting rather than sit there and slag it off, because that only hurts the sport, because anyone that's new that's getting into the sport sees those things on posts and thinks, why the hell would we bother being involved in this when the community's like that? So think twice before you post and, grow a set, go down to the club, go down to community meetings, help out, have your voice there and be part of the change, not part of the demise.
Ooh.
Back over to you.
Okay, right. Where did that come from? What happened? What did I miss?
Just a nerve.
Oh, okay. All right, you're all good now?
Yeah, I think that the tight jeans from before.
I was going to say, build up that testosterone in your legs and all the way you went.
Pinched a nerve, actually. So we're just living in a society that it's easier to complain than pitch in and help. So, I'm just a bit over that.
I completely agree. I can completely wholeheartedly agree, because I see it on two fronts. I see it from the Scuderia Ferrari club, and I see it obviously from afar with with normal clubs as well. So the only way that you can actually instigate change for the positive is actually contribute to your club, and that could be attend committee meetings or actually do something positive and construct. But that's just a reflection of modern society, mate. It's tall poppy syndrome. Everyone loves to comment when they want to see you fail rather than actually contribute and want to help you succeed.
Yep.
So, I get that. I can completely understand that. So, is anything else for Harry's rant?
No, I probably should have saved that for grind my gears at the end of the show.
Mate, grind your gears whenever you want, mate.
It's just on there.
Oh, look, we saw it heaps. When the Ferrari club announced that it was going to work together with Southern Go-Kart Club 3 years ago, and the uproar that caused. I mean, bloody hell. So, but there, anyway, no, point made.
Now it's time for Grind My Gears with Jamie and Leigh.
And Mr. Harrison, what grinds your gears? You're a bit late on the trigger, Chief.
A bit late on the trigger, but it needed to be said.
Oh, God. I hope you weren't like that back in your bloody Bush days. But anyway.
Better late than early.
Yeah, true. Anyway, Monza, Formula One. And so I come back Saturday night. I'm watching the race, or the qualifying, and Bianca's gone to bed. And I've somehow, because of the hype, I'm alive and awake and watching with intent. And then all of a sudden, CS55 decides to land on pole. And it's just excitement galore in the Lemura household. I had to keep it quiet, so there was all sorts of stuff happening in the house.
You didn't keep it quiet though, did you?
Not really. So then when Bianca wakes up the next morning and asks what the hell had happened,
there was a news report.
Exactly. It was like this.
Well, I woke up to go get me a cold pop, and then I thought somebody was barbecuing. I said, oh Lord Jesus, it's a fire. Then I ran out. I didn't grab no shoes or nothing, Jesus. I ran for my life. And then the smoke got me. I got bronchitis. Ain't nobody got time for that.
Exactly. And you know who was cooking that barbecue? It was Carlos on the track. He was on fire, baby, that whole weekend. That was probably the best performance I've seen Ferrari put for near on a year and a half.
Yep. Yeah,
and it lasted 15 laps.
It lasted 15 laps. Carlos, I think it was one of Carlos's best drives.
Probably
to pinch pole position and then lead the first 15 laps with some staunch defending. An absolute stellar drive. I know we were texting at the time of the race, but you know, if Max gets in front and I'm the strategist for Ferrari, I'm like, okay, well, we have to do something. So I reckon I probably would have pitted Charles. The minute that Verstappen got in front, I would have pitted Charles and got him out and got him back into, even if it was in traffic, the undercut was so aggressive that he would have cleared those, and they had gone with such a low drag setup. He would have cleared traffic like they were standing still. So he might have lost tenths of a second, not whole seconds for sure. And just like got him to push like buggery for the first couple of laps, tear up his tyres, but just get that track position back over Max. But that's the only thing that, as someone sitting on my lounge chair like an expert, I would have liked to have seen, rather than them just follow each other around again for another 8 laps or whatever it was before they pitted. Throw a real curveball and throw the dice, because then Perez is screwed if Leclerc's got a pit. And yeah, it would have been might have just added a little bit more spice. Yeah. And look, as I said, as you said, we were sort of remarking to each other on there too. And the only thing I could have put it down to was they were just tyre life. You know, they take the gamble, like what you said, cook the tyres off, and then pit stop again. Yeah, and probably face more criticism and ridicule. Or do they play the conservative card, concede the race win because Max got past, and say, well, let's just race for third and see what happens, or maybe second. I think they would have got more, positive comments for like having a stab. Like if the minute that Verstappen, or like even before Verstappen had got into the lead, while Carlos was still holding him off, pull Leclerc in and use him to come back through the field a little bit to then really force that. You could already tell that their tyres were shot. That might have forced everybody into a 2-stop race, especially the Red Bulls as well. So, you know, with that track, with the low downforce tyre life, they probably could have defended, you know, and if you're defending in the second half of the race, you're still defending. Like, you still had a pretty decent shot at it. So, yeah, like it would have been interesting to see what the simulations showed had they have pitted at that time when Max took the lead, what might have happened. I just thought in my head then, Fred Vasseur would have been like, creative pit stop strategy. Ain't nobody got time for that. Well, he actually admitted post-race that the amount of being obviously his first race as being head of Ferrari, because they didn't have Imola this year, this was it. Yep. The weight of expectation, the pressure, the emotion, the atmosphere is unlike anything else that he would have ever experienced. But then the passion that the Italians have for Ferrari is unlike anything else that any track experiences. And that even supersedes the Dutch with Max, because it's not about the team, it's the driver. Yep. Whereas in this case, it's about the team and the drivers. And the drivers as well. So I think Carlos showed Max a clean pair of heels, and as soon as he started to do a little bit of defending, Mr. MV Verstappen channels in back to 2021 all of a sudden and starts to have a whinge. About the Cup. He's asking questions. He's asking questions. He's a gypsy. There was some late manoeuvring, and I don't think he was complaining. He was just saying it was a little bit naughty, which is fair. Like the one that Max did complain about, I actually thought the same thing myself. I was like, well, that was late. That was very late, but that was just CS just saying, how about some enchiladas here, baby? Exactly, but it was Spanish there. Leaving the door ajar and then slamming it shut in his face when the move went to happen. So, the Formula One drivers, they're gonna ask questions. So at least he wasn't, like your mate and started crashing into people again. Not my mate. Not my mate at all. You're Lewis, not me. Sure. Although the only thing that Lewis Hamilton and I have in common is the yellow helmet. That's about it. Crashing into people. Well, I don't crash into people. They crash into me. I'm normally picking up the pieces of everyone else. That's how it happens. Anyway, here are the race highlights for the Italian Grand Prix.
That is such disappointment. Sonoda pulls off before we'd even taken the lights, and surely we will have to send them round again.
Failure, heavy failure.
Copy. This is on board with Yuki Tsunoda. And that is the sound of your Grand Prix ending before you'd even formed up on the grid. Here come the 5 red lights in Monza. And the Italian Grand Prix is go! With a good reaction time for one Ferrari, make that two Ferraris. Max Verstappen is breaking out of the slipstream. He's going to contend with Charles Leclerc and Carlos Sainz down to turn one. Sainz is first, then it's Verstappen, then George Russell is on the inside, but Charles Leclerc has the power to hang on to third position as they all make it through the first chicane. Sainz holds the lead.
Brilliant start, brilliant defence, and Charles Leclerc there still having to battle with George Russell as they go down to the second chicane. Looks like he's going to maintain that position. The door is a little bit open for Perez to have a look, but amazingly they seem to have got through the first couple of chicanes with no sign of any contact.
Alexander Albon, who's trying to use that incredible straight line speed of the Williams to clear the slightly draggier McLaren ahead, and he's got a good run, DC.
He has indeed. He pulled a slightly different line off the first chicane. He's going to be forced to the outside in the braking zone for the bridge. This would be remarkable if he pulls it off.
We go on board with Alex Albon, who gets up to sixth position with a super move.
That was brave. It was precise. Absolutely brilliant from Alex.
Now there's a run for Max.
Yeah, loses out through the middle of the corner inevitably as you've then got the turbulent air off the back of Sainz. Well, he's going to have DRS. He'll start to gain massively in this phase. Is he brave enough to have a go?
He's going to be sent the long way round by Carlos Sainz, who is desperate to hang on to the lead of the Grand Prix, and that is an elbow thrown by the Ferrari. Would Sainz be aggressive was the question. There's your answer.
Max there slightly compromised in braking. Sainz left enough room for him to try and wiggle his way around the outside, but he wasn't carrying the momentum.
Was about it.
Carlos is going defensive again. That's taking away any confidence from Max to lunge it.
Perez gets to the inside of Russell, but they were both off the road trying to make the corner at the first chicane, and Perez will be arguing, well, we both went off. Russell will say he overtook me off the racetrack.
He pushed me off.
Okay, so more aggressive on the braking this time. Goes to turn... Well, okay, Checo, good attempt to get the referee on side, but you were never making the apex.
And Verstappen, who forced a defensive move from Carlos Sainz 1 lap ago. Carlos Sainz having a look in the mirror. Verstappen getting close, and he just immediately commits to the racing line. There's the first lock-up we have seen from the race leader. That, a visual example of the pressure that he's under. And look at the momentum that Verstappen has got coming out of the first chicane, going through Curva Grande. Side by side they run for the lead of the Grand Prix, and the Ferrari is inching back ahead, centimetres between the leading pair in the Italian Grand Prix, and Max Verstappen takes the lead on the day that he chases history. He gets past the Ferrari. Sainz fights back, but there's nothing he can do, and the man who's chasing a perfect 10 is P1.
Yeah, deployed nice and early, the electrical energy available coming off the first chicane. Then you can see the slippery Ferrari starts to outperform him as the speed builds, but in the end he had the inside line.
1 lap later, and as other... Whoa! This time, Perez gets to the part of the racetrack he's been chasing for so long. He gets to the inside. That's 4th place. Lando Norris is going to get past, and the undercut effective there. There is... Oh, he's going to throw one to the inside. It was tight. It's contact between the McLarens at Monza, but it was Norris who got by.
We're going to see Lando Norris on the outside. Lando leaves him space, and then you can see that contact of the tyres
as they go past the iconic timing tower on the left-hand side, the old grandstand in the middle, and then the next iconic timing tower with the Red Bull out of the slipstream, building up to 200 miles an hour and taking 3rd place in the Grand Prix. Leclerc was thinking about the late lunch, wasn't able to do so, but one Ferrari slips off the podium. On board with Lewis Hamilton, a 5-time winner of this Grand Prix, just trying to improve up to 8th place. Does he have the room? The answer's no. There's a lock-up. They're both over the road, and the story continues down to the Lesmos.
Hamilton will say, well, look, he pushed me off, and he never made the corner.
Hamilton against Piastri, flat to the floor as we go through Curva Grande. He's looking for that inside line. Piastri gives him the squeeze, but you've got to give a car's length. Oh, he's made contact! He's made contact off the road. They both go. And damage for Oscar Piastri. Hamilton takes the place off the road. Another dramatic moment for Oscar Piastri's Grand Prix.
if anyone has to apportion blame, I would say Lewis needed to give him a bit more space, which Carlos Sainz is not giving Checo Perez.
Perez is going to risk the nose to the inside, and he bails out of the first chicane, and Sainz gets back to second place. Perez had to give him the position back, but this is getting tighter and tighter and tighter every time they go into the braking zone at the Rettifilo. Hamilton now, with that 5-second penalty hanging over him, cleared one McLaren, and now trying to clear the other one around the outside for Lewis Hamilton, who gets past Lando Norris. Best run he's had so far for second place. Oh, he thought about it, and Sainz went tight to the wall. Perez has got the DRS. Perez has got the place. At last, Sergio Perez slows the Red Bull down, and by the time he leaves the first chicane, he's up to second place in the Grand Prix. This is so close between the two Scarlet Ferraris who go onto the main straight. Charles Leclerc has got enormous momentum here. They're side by side at Monza, and Charles Leclerc is moving ahead. He's got the inside line. Charles Leclerc takes third place in the Italian Grand Prix, but he's locked up to give another opportunity to Sainz, who cranks on the steering wheel, looking for the line. How did he not make contact with his teammate there?
I feel that I've just seen a ghost car. You know, the wheels, they must have been so close to touching.
Sainz has the inside line. Will he have the position? Lock up. Oh, they nearly made contact again. This is really aggressive stuff from the two teammates. As we check in on another move, this time for Lewis Hamilton. And see, it is possible to overtake a Williams in a straight line. He went the long way round at turn 1.
And no risk, race until the end, no risk.
Is there a late lunge? There was, and he very nearly went into the back of his teammate. If that's Charles Leclerc's idea of no risk, my word, it will be third for Carlos Sainz. That is the last real opportunity in the Italian Grand Prix for Leclerc to get past his teammate. We are witnessing something that no one has ever seen in the entire history of Formula One. A landmark for Max Verstappen. Max Verstappen wins 10 Grand Prix in a row to take the all-time record. And the Ferraris are scrapping all the way to the line. Unbelievable stuff. Perez is second, and it was 1/10 of a second between third and fourth. It is always absolutely thrilling. Monza putting on a show from first practice to the checkered flag, and a moment of history written in the record books for Max Verstappen.
Indeed, and what that actually highlighted to me was just how good this year's Red Bull car actually is, considering the fact that drivers once again finished 1-2 and they've been undefeated this year as well. So it's very rare. Like, give credit where credit is due. Max is driving very, very well. But, you know, when you've got the likes of Sergio Perez that can continually come from the rear of the grid and fill up spots second or third, the car is also very, very, very good as well. And this will go down as probably one of the top 2 racing cars in Formula One of all time, I would probably go suggesting. Well,
if it wins every race of the year, I'd can sort of see why it wouldn't be regarded as the greatest racing car of all time. They've openly come out now and said that winning every race this year has become a realistic goal. So if they're focusing on it, then it'd be interesting to know how much they have got in reserve. Whether there is anything, you see. Sainz pip Max in quali the other day at Monza, but is there anything in reserve? So
I had to laugh at when Max said that they were concentrating more on a race setup. I just think Boulder Dash, Carlos just had a bigger set of kahunas that day than what you did. However, okay. However, I don't think they'll win every Grand Prix. The odds would suggest. I mean, on face value, you would say yes. But I've got a funny feeling that they'll drop one somewhere and it'll be at a race that we least expect. And that would make them equal to 1988 with McLaren when they won 15 out of 16.
Yeah.
Outside of that, if they win every race this year, and form suggests that they would, then it will be the greatest Formula One car of all time.
Yeah. But even so, if they won 22 out of 23, that's probably still a better percentage rate than the 15 out of 16. So I think... Yeah, they've got to really mess it up from here to lose that, arguing over which one could be better. But I think it's going to take a mechanical failure for them to lose a race. I don't think they're going to lose it on speed and speed alone.
Yeah. It'll either be a start line incident or something absurd, like, say, if it rains at Singapore, which is the next race, and that could... I mean, Singapore, personally, outside of, say, Monza or Monaco, is my favourite Grand Prix. And when it rains there, it's... anything's possible, as we saw with last year's race.
Could see a late race safety car in Abu Dhabi. Where
Michael Massey behind the wheel. How'd you like them apples, boys? We're racing now, Toto. But yeah, it's a hard one, isn't it? Like, they still, you lose one race, and I mean, 16 Grand Prix back then was the calendar. Now it's even longer, and you could argue that because they've got more races that they've got a race in, that it might actually, that would be tipping over the edge. But it is very, very rare in sport that you actually see greatness at this level. And although it's very easy to, pour, hot water over the accomplishments of the driver, irrespective between the two of them, they still have actually got to get the job done. So I think, you've got to... And it's not just the car itself, though. It's also even the pit stops. Yep. I mean, they're light years ahead of everyone else. Yep. It's a combination of everything. It's not just... I mean, and Newey's brilliance as well. Like, that's got to be applauded too. But I tell you what, I'd love to see what they had in their coteries for last year's salary cap as well, because the wind tunnel's not going. The wind tunnel restrictions are not going to make one iota of a difference to that car.
No, and maybe it'll make a difference for next year's car. We don't know. But again, I don't know. They've probably stopped focusing a lot of this year's car and have moved already onto next year's, considering the dominance of this year's car. So yeah, like that penalty hasn't really come back to bite them at all. But it was good to see during the week that all teams have been cleared of any cost cap breaches for this year's season. So
you'd have to be pretty dumb or really ballsy to actually exceed it, considering, mind you though, considering how lightly Red Bull got off last year. Even if someone like Haas did it, I'd be like, Gunther probably be like, who bloody cares?
Exactly,
that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So that wasn't a good Gunther, was it?
Well, it's someone like Williams as well. Like, if Williams are going to lose, one season, but they end up, winning most of the races next year, well, then, who that's probably some good money to spend.
Yeah. How good are they looking though now? Like, they've come on in leaps and bounds this year. I think they've, in the second part of this year so far, I think they've come on in leaps and bounds. Like, they have definitely made some strides.
Yeah, but Albon's come out and said that the rest of the tracks this year, he expects them to be nowhere. Like, with how good they are on low downforce tracks, that's probably been where their strength has been. I think when we see Singapore, a bit more high downforce, and move on to some of the other tracks, Japan, a bit more high downforce, that sort of stuff, I don't think the Williams is going to look as good as it has, especially not as good as it looked at Monza. We saw that last year with De Vries when he sat in for Albon, and even Logan Sargent was up there this weekend, just gone in Monza. So, I expect the Williams to be back, tail end of the midfield come Singapore.
Speaking of Singapore, they've it was said last year that they've actually done some changes to the track because they're doing some work around the Marina Bay area. So I believe there's actually going to be a lot more straight line this year around the back half of the course. So instead of going through the underneath the grandstand, which then leads to the soccer pitch that's in the middle of the marina and then back through again, it's actually going to be a lot more straighter, and they'll cut across that. Yep. So that'll certainly increase speed and probably add an extra DRS zone or two. What that looks like, I think we'll know next week. But that's a cracking Grand Prix. Like, so tough on the drivers, amazing atmosphere. The first proper night race, and the thing I love, having been to the Singapore Grand Prix in 2010, you don't realise how close you are to the cars until you're actually there. Like, you're literally within touching distance of them. Yeah. Incredible spectacle. And for anyone that's listening, if you know what, if you're not able to go to Melbourne next year for the Formula One, you're not missing out on much. Save your pennies, go to Singapore and enjoy an amazing event.
You probably don't even have to save as many pennies. Like, it's not that expensive to get to Singapore.
No, not at all.
And once you're there, it's a lot cheaper than being in Australia. So
I reckon JLM might actually do a Singapore trip next year. I might actually do a show live from be like, hey, Lee, I'm crossing over live from Singapore. Mind the beads of sweat. It's not, when we were there in 2010, 95% humidity, and it was 34 degrees. And you know what? Not a mozzie in sight. It was great.
Thick.
Oh, yeah. Thick with my shoulders back in those days, Lee. Thick, that's what it was. Anyway, Haas, struggle central, but no surprise considering the car they got. I mean, great in qualifying, pig in a race, and
Well, they've got the same problem as Ferrari. They can't keep the tyres underneath them, so they're good at lighting them on straight away for qualifying, and then as they go through the race, they can't keep them underneath them. So whether it's that they don't have enough downforce and they're sliding across the track a lot more, plays a big part in that. So yeah, unfortunately, it seems to be prevalent with both the Ferrari-powered cars.
Yeah, exactly. It's weird. I can't put my finger on Haas. Like, they've created a quick car, but they had tyre life last year, whereas now they've gone the other way and they've got no tyre life at all. So, and they're not one to spend a huge amount of money, so they haven't exactly come out with huge developments on this car too. So I think they're concentrating on next year's car now, and it'll just be what it will be, I think.
Very much so.
Ferrari we've covered, but clearly they threw a lot of eggs in that one basket for Monza, especially with fresh engines, revised aerodynamic approach for the race. And that was their best race that they've put on for quite a long time, and which was encouraging for the Tifosi as well in particular, but also it was just... I applaud Vasseur for letting the drivers race, irrespective of once they got to third or fourth.
Yeah.
Although Leclerc gave me a freaking heart attack in that last lap, I swear I thought they were gone.
It would have been just what the Ferrari team needed, was to have them both wipe each other out and sit not on the podium at all after all of the heroics all weekend. I almost had a giggle.
My heart was in my mouth.
Yeah.
It really was. But credit to for Puma and Ferrari for coming out with some cracking merchandise for the Monza Grand Prix. I got my delivery this week, so I got my 55 Ferrari hat and my T-shirt as well. If it wasn't so freaking cold, I would have brought the stuff tonight as well. So,
but you're still sitting here in shorts.
I got shorts and a jumper.
You could have had pants and a T-shirt.
I'm not that silly. No, I'm actually quite cozy right now. But yeah, anyway, we'll be off to a break, and then when we come back, our continued review of the Italian Grand Prix.
Follow us on socials, join us on our website, negativecamber.co, and be sure to subscribe to the Negative Camber Club for access to exclusive content, episode previews, and special deals from our amazing partners.
Ready to turn your karting dreams into reality? Look no further than ProKart's Race Centre. Imagine hitting the track in the kart of your dreams, a ride that matches your budget and aspirations perfectly. With our pre-loved kart sourcing service, we make it happen. Our experienced team isn't just about mechanics, they're dream builders. We meticulously hand-pick each kart, ensuring reliability, performance, and sheer exhilaration. Whether you're a seasoned racer looking for an upgrade or a newcomer stepping into the world of karting, we're your pit crew, your partners in racing dreams. Get ready to feel the wind in your hair, the thrill in your heart, and the victory at your fingertips with ProKart's Race Centre, where dreams truly come to life. Visit prokartsracecentre.com.au or pop in for a chat at 30 Research Road, Paraka. ProKart's Race Centre, fueling your dreams, igniting your potential.
Welcome back to Negative Camber, the Motorsports show. Very quickly before we go to our Around the World segment, obviously Oscar Piastri's race ruined by Lewis, who admittedly had a brain fart, let's be honest.
Yep.
Wasn't his finest moment. I knew you'd jump onto it straight away and say, here's Lewis doing Lewis things.
Absolutely, Lewis doing flat-out Lewis things. And he took responsibility for it too, so credit where credit's due.
Exactly. He was a gentleman. And he shook hands about it too. But that ruined Piastri's race. But I'll tell you what, there's some spice happening in that McLaren outfit. I think Lando's somewhat rattled by our mate Oscar.
Yeah, Oscar's come out and been on the pace and given him a bit of a fright. So, yeah, they obviously raced wheel to wheel through the first couple of corners there after a pit stop, and the team boss was not happy about it.
Andrea Stella pretty much made his thoughts well known to the team and gave him a nice tongue lashing after and said, you guys shouldn't be doing that make it G-rated. But where are your thoughts with Lando right now? Where do you see him?
In a McLaren car?
Captain freaking obvious. My God. No.
He's doing a great job, but so is Oscar. Yeah, it's. I think it's really shaken him up. Does he have one eye on moving somewhere else into a more competitive seat? Who knows? There is speculation that even Perez now is starting to think that his seat's under fire. So
it's only taken him that long to realise that.
Yeah, well, he's thinking that he may not even be there next year now. So let alone seeing out 24 and into 25. So has Lando got an eye on that seat, and that's rattled him a bit? Are there negotiations happening in the background, and that's taken his concentration off of what's going on at McLaren? He says not, but yeah, no, he can still steer, and the fight back at Monza was evident of that, because he definitely didn't qualify the best.
If you were Max, though, would you rather Danny Rick as your sidekick, or would you rather Lando?
I don't think he would prefer either of them, because I think they're both just as good, and I think that'll help. It'll show pretty quickly. And he's good friends with either of them, so yeah, I don't think he has a preference.
Yeah, it'd be interesting. I think Danny Rick's broken wrist came at just the wrong time.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
No, Danny Rick needed to be in the car for Zandvoort for Monza to show what he could really do after a good display at Spa. So yeah, he needed definitely to be in the car more and not sitting on the sidelines. And they're saying he's not going to be back to Qatar now, which is a long way away.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And I mean, Liam Lawson put in a pretty good shift, considering it was his first proper weekend. Helmut Marko comes out and likens him to Bruce McLaren. I'm like, whoa, Helmut. What?
Well, that is the only other New Zealander to have made a good stint in Formula 1,
I think,
apart from Brendan Hartley.
Yeah, I was going to say, some of the hashish that Helmut smokes some days is just ridiculous. I mean, he made a decision on Nick de Vries after one Grand Prix, and now he's likening him to Bruce McLaren. Yeah. I mean, Helmut was even Helmut in the sport back when Bruce McLaren was racing?
Helmut made some pretty rash comments about Perez as well during the week and had to come out and apologise for them as well. I can't remember exactly what he said, but said something about him being Mexican.
Well,
which isn't a lie.
Well, it's not exactly his nationality's there, but I think there's a couple of things. I think a few of these shisha bars are happening in Formula One, because even Felipe Massa, God bless him, is smoking some stuff at the moment, where he's trying to reclaim his lost 2008 World Drivers' Championship, and he's now taken Formula One to court over it. And look, on face value, his evidence is based on the fact that he'd lost the title for the Singapore Grand Prix, and which was, that was a race that was marred by what was then the Renault team pretty much creating an incident which caused a safety car and all sorts of stuff. That's all been well documented. But I've always said Felipe Massa's argument falls on its face when you've got a DNF that happens at the Hungarian Grand Prix when he's leading with 2 laps to go and blows the motor. And that was it, race over. That was a DNF. But then I pull out his 2008 results, and I've got in front of me the whole championship. And in the first 2 races of the year, for example, there were DNFs. First one was a blown motor in Australia, and he was in 4th for that. And then the second one was a spin and a retirement when he retired from the top 5 at Malaysia. He's then gone on for a string of results and then has another DNF in the Hungarian Grand Prix, which was the obviously the engine blow up. He finishes 13th in the wet in Silverstone, where he spun 6 times in that race, and Lewis Hamilton completely blitzed the field and won by a lap. You then had 6th place at the Italian Grand Prix. We had 13th place in Singapore, where the Ferrari team, due to that rush pit stop, caught the fuel hose in back at the time when it was refueling. And then you got 7th in the wet in Japan, which is the video that I showed you the other day when Kubica and Felipe around Mount Fuji had an epic battle when track limits. What track limits were they? And then obviously he's gone to finish 2nd and finished 1st in Brazil as well. So there's 3 or 4 other landmark moments in that season, and he actually ended up winning something like 7 or 8 races that year. But there's about 3 or 4 other landmark moments in that season where, due to either driver error or mechanical failure, where the title was lost, rather than it being pinpointed down to Singapore. So, and I've even got a race-by-race synopsis here that I could even put up if I wanted to about what actually happened in 2008 as well. So I think, Felipe, you know what? It's been a long time now. Like, we're talking nearly 20 years, give or take, years. 15 years. It's a long time to actually think about trying to claim a title now when the horse is well and truly bolted. I think, except the fact that you were dudded, you were given a raw deal. Lewis was very, 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 very fortunate to win that race, all thanks to Timo Glock and a pair of kahunas in terms of tyre strategy. It is what it is. and you've just got to move on and accept it. It's hard for me to say because I'll never win a Formula One World Championship and I'll never cross the line first and be champion for 15 seconds. But they're the facts.
Yep. No, you can't argue with that. Like, probably could have won it 10 times in that season, but it still sucks to have that one race that is mirrored by so much controversy, which I guess is what they're getting at. That result should be scrubbed or reversed or whatever from the record, which I can understand as well. But again, probably should have won it on merit rather than trying to win it in the courtroom.
Well, the whole thing only came about because Bernie Ecclestone decided to do a Bernie moment at the age of 93 or 94 and actually just say, I knew about the race and the fact that it was fixed and we just decided to brush it under the carpet.
Yeah.
That's how it all started.
Yeah.
Otherwise, if it wasn't for that...
Wouldn't be talking about it.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
Exactly right. So
and Bernie was out of the sport by then and didn't care.
Yeah, exactly. And that was left to Max Mosley and he's sadly passed away. God bless his soul. So, that's what I mean. Just put it to bed, leave it alone, don't dig it up.
Yep.
And just get on with life and get on with running karting in a global sense.
Exactly right.
And more news this week in the Negative Camber newsroom was the resignation of Alan Joyce from Qantas, which to many was fantastic, even though I've never had any personal problems with them. However, our pilot for Flight Negative Camber, Mr. Leigh Harrison, is going to take us for a trip around the world. Back to you.
Excellent segue there.
You like that one?
Yeah.
I reckon that's some of my best work, I've got to say.
I'm still gainfully employed as the pilot of this around the world flight. But as always, our first stop is in NASCAR land, America. Only one race in rare form for NASCAR to speak of since the last show, with a race being held at Darlington Raceway. And it was Kyle Larson who got his playoff series started in the right way, seeing the checkered flag first ahead of Tyler Reddick and Chris Buescher. Larson grabbed control of the race late in the final stage when he was first out of the pit lane after a spin for Ryan Newman. That was the end of that sentence.
I was going to say, you're right there?
I was having a moment. Reddick found himself in second after the last caution of the race and initially challenged Larson for the lead. However, Larson was able to hold him off and take the win by just half a second. It was a great boost to Larson's playoff hopes as he entered the race as the 6th seed and leaves now second in the championship race behind his Hendrick Motorsports teammate William Byron. It was not such a smooth race for Byron, who was involved in a wreck with Daniel Suarez with 48 laps to go, where Bowman moved across the racetrack twice to block Suarez. 16 drivers are currently in the hunt for the championship, with 4 of those drivers being eliminated after the race at Bristol next weekend. Denny Hamlin and John Hunter Nemechek have won the Xfinity races held at Darlington and Kansas, while Grant Enfinger and Christian X have won the Craftsman Truck Series races held at Milwaukee and Kansas. And for anyone that wants to see a fine video of some driving, search up Christian X win in the Craftsman Truck Series at Kansas night before. 3 wide around the outside and taking home the chocolates. So that's an epic move.
Who'd have thought that Robert Duvall from Days of Thunder with a crackle out of on the outside, you can't
your
hold.
tyres will hold. You got a special set.
Exactly. And they came true.
Yeah, exactly right. World of Outlaws, and it's been a busy period for the drivers of the World of Outlaws Sprint Car Series, with 7 rounds of the championship being completed. Races held at Red River Speedway, Skagit Speedway, Grays Harbour Raceway and Silver Dollar. There were wins for Logan Schuchart, Rico Abreu, Kyle Larson, Sheldon Hordenschildt and Michael Kofoid, while a win for Brad Sweet has seen him extend his lead in the championship to 103 points over Carson Macedo, with David Gravel a further 70 points behind. This is the largest lead of the season so far for Sweet, as he looks to step up his run at another title. In DTM, there was a race held overnight at Sachsenring, and Lucas Stoles was unbeatable. He took a perfect start from pole position and took a dominant lights to flag victory in what was Mercedes' first win for 2023 in that series. IndyCar, Alex Palou was victorious in the Grand Prix of Portland in the penultimate round of the IndyCar series. Palou led home Arrow McLaren's Felix Rosenqvist by 5.4 seconds, and in doing so also wrapped up the IndyCar title. It is the Ganassi Racing driver's second title after also winning in 2021, and it's the team's 15th title. Scott McLaughlin finished 9th in the race, some 30 seconds behind Palou, while Will Power had a day to forget, finishing 25th and 2 laps down after an ambitious lunge on Alex Rossi saw him spin into the grass early on in the race. Their IndyCar is racing in Laguna Seca this weekend, so anyone wants to get up early on Monday morning and watch that race, Scott McLaughlin is starting second after just missing out on pole. In Moto2 and Moto3, Jake Dixon and David Alonso were victorious in the Moto2 and Moto3 races, respectively, in the most recent round of the championship held at Catalunya. Dixon held off a fast-finishing Aaron Canet and Albert Arenas in Moto2 to take his second win of the season. He now sits 44 points behind Pedro Acosta in the race for the championship. It was much more frantic in Moto3, however, with the top 9 riders crossing the line under a second apart. Alonso led home Jaume Masia and Jose Antonio Reda. Daniel Holgado finished in 22nd place and scored no points, yet still holds a 13-point lead in that championship over Ayumi Suzuki. Isaac Hadjar and Clement Novalak were victorious in the F2 races held at Zandvoort, while Freddie Vesti and Oliver Behrman were victorious for Prema in their home race held in Monza. With one round left in the championship, which is to be held in Abu Dhabi, Teo Pourchaire currently holds a 24-point advantage and will take some stopping to not clinch the title. Frederick Vesti has moved to second, while Ayumi Iwasa holds third. Jack Doohan currently sits fourth and cannot mathematically challenge for the title. In F3, Monza was the final round of the championship, and while there were wins for Franco Colapinto and Johnny Edgar, it was championship joy for Gabriel Bortolotto. Zach O'Sullivan finished runner-up, 45 points behind, with Paul Aron in third. And in World Rally Championship news, finishing off our around-the-world trip in Greece, a nice sunny rally by the sandy deserts of Greece. Kalle Rovanpera is in a commanding position as the final day of action in the Acropolis Rally is currently taking place in Greece. Rovanpera holds a 2-minute lead over Danny Sordo, with Elfyn Evans 5 seconds back in third. Thierry Neuville has retired from the rally after damaging his suspension on a hole in the road. It's effectively ended Neuville's chances at the title, with only 3 rounds remaining at the completion of this event.
Well done, Pilot Harrison.
Smooth sailing almost.
Very nice landing considering the choppy clouds that we had to go through for that.
Hit a bit of turbulence early.
Just a little bit. But actually, you know what? It's amazing I reckon some pilots would have to be some of the most egotistical individuals that I've ever seen when they want to put their ego through all the passengers and actually fly through turbulence and throughout the whole flight of, say, Melbourne, to a point where the poor air hostesses have to actually remove the cart from dining because they're about to trip over themselves and almost give themselves a concussion. Fly above the clouds if you can, please, pilots. That's not for me. That was actually my brother's feedback from his flight with Virgin Air.
Get me home. Get me home quick.
Oh, not through turbulence, man. My God. Why would you want to do that to yourself? You're, gazillion million feet up in the air and you're being jostled around like that. My God. No thanks. Anyway, off to a break. When we come back, MotoGP.
A huge thank you goes out to our podium partner, Procast Race Centre, and our incredible sponsors. Your partnership allows us to continue bringing you this show and dive deeper into the world of motorsports. If your business adds value to the motorsport community, get in touch with us to become a Negative Camber partner.
Time to discover more than just a track. It's time to find your racing family at Prokarts Race Centre. We're more than a racing facility. We're a community of enthusiasts bound by our shared love for motorsport. What sets us apart? Our commitment to inclusivity. We're breaking barriers, welcoming rookies and pros alike to experience the thrill of racing. With our low investment pathways into karting, we're paving the way for the next generation of racers. Whether you're a seasoned racer seeking camaraderie or a beginner eager to learn, Prokarts Race Centre is your home. Join our vibrant community, feel the passion and share the rush of victory with friends who share your passion. Visit prokartsracecentre.com.au or pop in for a chat at 30 Research Road, Paraka. Prokarts Race Centre, fueling your passion, igniting your potential.
Welcome back to Negative Camber, the motorsport show. We'll get straight into it. MotoGP and the miracle of the Pecco show reared its ugly head and showed us its full repertoire at the Spanish Grand Prix held last weekend. Yeah, I despite what Biscuit says, because he was about 7 or 8 long necks deep after that and was incoherent, that reminded me so much of the Marco Simoncelli accident. All he had to do was go either way and have a bike go in the middle and run over his head, and it would have been all lights out.
Yeah.
All over Red Rover. The fact that he walked away.
Fallen off the bike the other way and it was his head where his legs were, then it would have been a different story. But
Exactly right.
Still pretty sickening to see.
Even the high side was just ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like, and I mean, okay, yeah, I mean, he sort of spoke after when he was released from hospital and pretty much said the tyres felt completely different to what they were even in the morning warm-up. So clearly there was a grip because, I mean, Pecco's had a couple of falls here and there, but he's never had a high side like that. That was unbelievable. But we've got some highlights of the event. There's some of our top 5 takeaways from the Italian Grand Prix, and here they are.
It's lights out and we are racing. Jorge Martin again powers away on that Prima Prama Ducati and he eases on through Miguel Oliveira on this high-speed run down to the first corner. Let's hope they all make it through safely this time around. They all look a little bit more cautious, a little bit more hesitant, don't they, on the brakes. They are all thankfully through that highly dramatic first corner, and it is Jorge Martin that leads the way. Vinales second, Aleix Espargaro in third. Is Vinales then? That's aggressive, isn't it? We don't see this very often from Maverick Vinales, wasting no time whatsoever in heading the front on that fast front to turn number 4 on the inside of Jorge Martin, the top gun in top spot.
And it's 3 Aprilias inside the top 4.
Aleix Espargaro trying to find a way through. That was close. He's going to cut to the inside line, coming through turn number 10, and he has got through. That was brilliantly done there by Aleix Espargaro.
So it's now Aprilia 1-2 at the front of this Grand Prix.
This is dreamland, dream territory, isn't it, for the factory Aprilias, for the Nawali factory, because they have 3 bikes in the podium place here in Barcelona. We know that Vinales and Aleix Espargaro have got the better pace than the Ducati of Jorge Martin. Oliveira also then finds a way through on this lap number 4. It's Aprilia versus Aprilia versus Aprilia.
Miguel Oliveira, I was about to say, he's being caught by Martin. He's now being passed by him. Martin up the inside into turn 1 and into the podium positions. And given what happened to Oliveira in the sprint yesterday, the fact that he's already plummeting back towards the Ducatis behind before we even reach half distance, that will be a concern for him and RNF.
Oh, the Martinator being the party pooper here, isn't he? We were all dreaming about an all Aprilia podium. Here comes Miguel Oliveira, though, trying to fight straight back on the brakes in the turn number 4. You can see how hard Jorge Martin is trying to hold on to that third place. He's just taken from the Portuguese man. Augusto Fernandez, the rookie, on the inside of the Gian Antonio. That's neat and tidy from Fernandez, although he's going to lose the inside line on the flip-flop going through turn 2. They lean on each other, don't they, into turn 3. Now, this is where you really do abuse and stress the right-hand side of both tyres, but Fernandez has finally got through then. Gets Betterfield, the rookie, up to 9. Miller and Quartararo, so getting a bit frenetic on the brakes into the first corner at the start of this lap 17. On board then with Aleix Espargaro. He clicks the Aprilia now into top gear, 355 kilometres an hour. This is where he passed Bagnaia yesterday to win the sprint, and he's on the inside of Maverick Vinales into the first corner. Out to the long lap goes Maverick Vinales. Aleix Espargaro then, he'll see that on his left-hand side. Vinales then comes back onto the circuit. Is that the big key moment of this Catalan Grand Prix? Because for the very first time on course for the Dream Double, Aleix Espargaro leads. Home sweet home for Aleix Espargaro as he completes the Dream Double here in Barcelona. It's an historic Aprilia 1-2 as well. Aleix Espargaro wins his home Grand Prix by just under 0.4 of a second. Maverick Vinales takes his role in history as well with second place. Cue joyous celebrations then down in the factory Aprilia garage as Aleix Espargaro is your sprint and Grand Prix winner here in front of his home crowd in Barcelona. Aprilia in dreamland, first and second.
Oh, I like that serious music for me reading out the results. We should re-roll it again. We should put it on loop or something. No, I'm joking. Aleix Espargaro first, Maverick Vinales second, Jorge Martin third, Johan Zarco fourth, Miguel Oliveira fifth, Alex Marquez 6th, Fabio Quartararo 7th, Jack Miller 8th, Alex Fernandez in 9th, and Fabio Di Gianantonio rounding up the top 10 for Gresini. There you go. I liked it. It was good. I don't know what it feels like when you do around the world.
Yeah, that's it.
Big takeaway from that is count your lucky stars, say your prayers, believe in God or whatever you want to believe, and be thankful that you're alive is probably the biggest takeaway. If you're Bastianini, normally keep the nether regions for men on the bike and use that as, brains as well as your head, instead of making risque moves like what you do. I mean, it's racing. We all get that.
Probably needs to stop smoking the reefer before he jumps on the bike.
I don't know what maybe poor James Place probably took the same thing. But yeah, that was that was a pretty how could you have a Grand Prix 6 out and your championship leader out within 100 metres in that first corner? It was ridiculous.
What I find interesting is to see how Bagnaia bounces back this weekend. He obviously did okay in the sprint race last night, but that was a mistake all on his own, which we know that he is, renowned for. Is this the creeping in of the old Bagnaia, or was it just a blip on the radar? He's only got a 45-point lead in the championship, so he can't afford too many more of those.
I'll say blip on the radar, only because you know what I'm like with Pecco, and I'm more one-eyed than what I am now. Look, the fact that he's there scoring points is probably is a win in itself. If he comes back and wins the race tonight, he's godlike status.
That would be a big recovery.
Big recovery. I would be very surprised though if he does. I think get it home, finish, get the points. If you have to concede, just be thankful that you're there, because he was out. On last week we're having this discussion, and I would have said title gone, maybe career over. Who knows what could have happened when we didn't know. And then you wake up the next day and he's walking out, with bruises, and that's it. And yet Bastianini, who arguably had the lesser fall, was walked away with broken fingers, broken tibs, broken this, broken that, broken ego. Everything's broken. Yep. So, it you know what? Incidents like that tells me that he's destined to win the title this year. But he gets away with it.
Yeah, no, he did. He did, and he got away with all the falls and stuff last year as well, and still won the title. So, I said hopefully it's a blip on the radar, but he's got, he's still got a couple of races spare up his belt that he can fall off and not lose the championship. So, see how you go.
Let's just get the points first, hey? Come on, Pecco. Come on, man. Come on. And then what do we have? We had Marc Marquez, rumoured to have gone to Gresini.
Yep.
Rumoured.
Very, very strong rumours. Nothing set in stone yet.
Yeah. Well, Joan Mir actually finished a race. I couldn't believe
Amazing, isn't it?
I know.
He's still dead last, but
I don't care.
Stayed
he
upright.
Finished. It's the most laps he's done this year.
They're saying that Marc Marquez's mind will be made up after the test next week, held at Misano. So he'll try Honda's new 2024 prototype bike, and that's going to be the make or break moment. He's put the sword to the team and said that he needs to be seeing strategic hiring for technical guys in all the parts of the bike that lacks. The Honda HRC are flat out trying to recruit people from the European teams like Ducati, like KTM, and like Aprilia, just to try and keep Marquez happy. But that'll be all for no good if Marquez decides to shut the door on him.
The Japanese culturally don't take negative feedback or pretty much bad results very well. It cuts them to the core, and generally they're pretty incisive when they come back and make change. Classic example is Honda in F1, when Alonso was very, very vocal about their performances, and they were humiliated publicly, and then within the space of 2 years after that, they won a world championship. And now they are the dominant engine. VTEC. Get onto it. Look, I'm not in the debrief rooms or anything of that nature. However, you can have the best engineers in the world, you can recruit really well, but if you're not giving the technical feedback and you're trying to ride around problems, guess what? Nothing's going to change. So I think Marc has also got to take Marc Marquez is going to go to a bike that's been completely developed, and all he has to do is just get notes off his brother and just adapt to it, and that's about it. He doesn't have to give that technical feedback. You want to actually cement your greatness, in my opinion, make Honda great again and cement your legacy as being one of the greatest of all time, right? Because right now you have more spills and more crashes than a 3-year-old either learning how to eat,
learning how to ride,
and doing all that sort of stuff as well. And that does more harm than good. Yeah. Prove your greatness by turning that mark around would be my advice. But what the hell would I know?
No, you're just washed up.
Washed up, greyed out, wearing shorts with pastel white legs. So there we have it. That's it. Another show done and dusted.
Yep. Yeah. Another 2 hours for your earbuds.
Exactly. Good luck for state championships next weekend, man.
Thanks. Yeah, I think like we said earlier in that preview, the fields are pretty stacked, so we're going to need it. But yeah, we'll have a send and we'll have some fun along the way. And even if we're not winning, we're going to have the most fun doing it.
Well, we have Max Walton that's meant to come past and slap on a Paralyn sticker on the trailer, which is great.
Yep.
I will personally autograph that Paralyn sticker if it actually survives any more than 30 seconds of laughter and ripping it off. But it should be good fun. I think let's see if your crystal ball is actually working and functioning this time at the very least.
No, I've saved that. I've saved that little sheet, so we'll check back in and see how many I scored.
Yeah, and coming up actually in another podcast in about a fortnight's time as well, actually the same week, will be our interview with Courtney Steer from Jam Motorsport as well, which I'm very much looking forward to. So that'll be the follow-up to the JP Drake, but also more discussion about women in motorsport. So, and before we wrap up, check us out on our internet webpage, negativecamber.co. Send us an email at podcast@negativecamber.co if you want to talk about the show, ask questions, but even want to support us as well. Become a partner with the team here at Negative Camber. Let us foster your growth and we grow together as well. So check us out on our Facebook page, our YouTube channel, our Instagram, our Spotify, pretty much we're everywhere. And hey, merchandise coming soon as well. Very exciting stuff. So on that note, we'll wrap it up. Good night, everyone, and we shall see you next time.
You've reached the checkered flag of another episode of Negative Camber the Motorsport Show, proudly brought to you by ProKarts Race Centre. A huge thank you to you, our incredible listeners. Your support and passion for motorsports fuels our enthusiasm to bring you the latest results, analysis, and interviews from the racing world. Keep that FOMO at bay by subscribing to Negative Camber on your favourite podcast platform. We'd also love it if you could leave us a review and share the show with your fellow racing enthusiasts. Your feedback and support mean the world to us. Remember, Negative Camber is more than just a podcast. We're a community of dedicated fans who live and breathe motorsports. Follow us on socials, join us on our website, negativecamber.co, and be sure to subscribe to the Negative Camber Club for access to exclusive content, episode previews, and special deals from our amazing partners. Until next time, stay fueled with passion, embrace the Negative Camber, and keep chasing those podium finishes.
Love this podcast? Support it and sponsor today. Simply head to ozcastnetwork.com for details.